Hello everybody, Chris here, and in this video I want to show you guys 5 reasons to use the Brave web browser in 2020 like I have been. So if you don't already know, the Brave browser is a security and privacy focused browser that you can pick up pretty much on any standard operating system, Windows, Linux, Mac, and also on your mobile devices, Android and iOS. And in fact, it's not just that you can use it on your mobile devices, but I would say there's also an incentive too, because of the way account syncing works inside of Brave. So part of the idea is that Brave chooses not to have accounts that you actually log into through a web service, but rather that any data that's stored in your browser can be synchronized between your devices. But aside from that, it doesn't save to any account out there on the internet. So for this accountless syncing, you have to use Brave Sync. Now, before it was something that was there by default, but it kind of looks like they've done away with the original version of Brave Sync. So as far as I can tell, to use Brave Sync at the moment, you need to go to the experiments page, brave://flags, and then enable Brave Sync here, which will allow you to open up the synchronization page by going to the hamburger menu in the top right hand corner. And then you just go down to where it says sync and you will get this page. So the idea here is that you can go ahead and hit your start a new sync chain option, and it's going to give you the ability to add other devices onto the sync chain. So you use either a series of about 30 words and copy that into another browser, or if you are dealing with a phone or tablet, you might be able to just get away with scanning a QR code. And then the chain code page is something like this. So using either method, you add in your devices to the same synchronization chain. And then if for some reason you lose access to the device or you have to wipe it completely from scratch, and so you don't have any of the data on there anymore, then you can just reconnect your other devices onto the synchronization chain and keep things like bookmarks between your devices. So I won't add anything to this particular chain because this is just a dummy profile for this video. But you can see in the top right, if you click here, that you can actually have multiple profiles set up for a single browser. So if you want to be able to switch between sets of bookmarks, maybe one for work and one for personal use, you can do that really easily by adding in extra profiles with this drop-down menu. And in some cases, you might not need to necessarily create a separate profile on your computer because you can just have your separate profile in the Brave browser. So another big deal in the Brave browser is that it has built-in ad and tracker blocking in the form of Brave shields. So whenever you go to a website, there's going to be this little lion icon to the right of the search bar. And if it's active, it will light up orange, which basically means that it's enabled for the website. You can also click on it and disable it for each individual website, and I'll kind of demo that in a minute. But the idea is that the Brave browser helps to protect your security by blocking trackers which are going to hold on to your data and blocking ads which might slow down a web page. So whenever you open up a new tab, you'll actually see for your profile how many ads have been blocked, how many HTTPS upgrades have occurred. So when Brave browser encounters a website that is still using HTTP rather than the S for the secure version, but without the S here standing for secure, accessing websites that are HTTPS has a security benefit over the ones that don't. Brave browser will automatically upgrade your connection to the site to HTTPS wherever possible. And you can see here how much time has been estimated to be saved by browsing with Brave browser as you use it for months or years. So on my main profile, I think it's currently something like 5 or 6 hours of saved time over, I would say, the last year and a half or so. And if you think about that as time that's saved just by using a program, that's actually quite a lot. But anyway, let's go ahead and demonstrate what the Brave Shields actually looks like. So we go to google.com and you see that the lion is actually active here. So you can click on the lion, click on the Got It button, and you can see a list of scripts and cross-site trackers that have been blocked and whether or not the connection on the site, or the connections rather, are going to be upgraded to HTTPS. You can enable and disable these as their own separate categories. So if you want to block scripts, then you can go ahead and click on the toggle there. You can also see that by default, they block cross-site cookies and cross-site fingerprinting. But by clicking on the menu, you can actually make it block all cookies or allow all cookies, and same with fingerprinting. So if for any reason on a particular site you need to change the settings, you can basically come down here and play around with it a little bit. So pretty much these days, whenever I select a default search engine, I'll just go ahead and choose DuckDuckGo as a privacy-centered search engine that doesn't save your search history. So it goes pretty well with Brave browser, as the point is to protect your privacy a bit more. So I will set that as the default. And this brings us to the feature of Brave Browser that is pretty different from a lot of the other ones out there, which is Brave Rewards. So the idea here is that if you are browsing the internet using Brave Browser and you have the ad blocker enabled by default, well, that is going to pull away from the revenue that sites or content creators generate in general. So Brave Browser has an option called Brave Rewards, which basically allows you to pay out to content creators based on the amount of time that you spend on their website, their Twitch streaming page, a YouTube channel, or similar things. So when you use Brave Rewards, one of the ways that you actually get a currency, or really a cryptocurrency, in order to pay out to those creators is that you enable Brave ads. So when you go ahead and enable Brave Rewards, it creates a digital wallet associated with this browser, and you can have ads enabled. The idea of watching these ads is that you generate BAT, which is basic authentication token, a type of cryptocurrency similar to something like Bitcoin. So rather than watching the normal ads on a web page, you get Brave ads instead. They generate cryptocurrency on your profile, and then you can take that and auto contribute it to different content creators throughout the internet. So like as I mentioned before, it's based on the amount of time you spend on a person or company's web page, and based on that, it'll automatically contribute it into an account. So how a creator would actually receive the cryptocurrency is that they authenticate with Brave publishers. So if I recall, that's basically like logging in with your Google account that would be associated with your YouTube account. And then once a creator authenticates properly, they're able to receive it as the cryptocurrency or have it convert into a different currency, like US dollars. Now, in addition to watching ads, you can also add in funds directly for that kind of contribution. So in a sense, it's kind of similar to doing something like Patreon, but where the money goes can optionally be decided automatically. You can see here that auto contribute isn't required. And occasionally Brave actually just grants tokens to different accounts. This has happened a few times for me in the past. So basically, they just give you money, which you can automatically have contributed to the different creators that you watch out there on the internet. So all in all, it's a pretty unique system. So if you were looking for a way to not watch all the regular ads, but replace it with Brave ads, or to put money into an account that you can automatically contribute to different creators out there, then Brave's set up for that pretty nicely. So my fourth point about Brave Browser is that in the recent versions especially, in my opinion, that the theming of Brave Browser is really nice. It's kind of got that synthwave vibe going on, and you can go into the settings if you want to change it to a dark theme, which is pretty standard. So you can either have it set the same as Windows. If you happen to change it on your operating system, you can have that automatically reflect in the browser as well, or you can just always leave it as dark or always as light. But I do like the color scheme of the app. It's really easy to find everything. In a way, it actually reminds me a lot of Ubuntu, which is a Linux operating system, if you know that. So anyway, that is a very personal preference, but I haven't seen many other browsers that I've liked visually too much more. I do know that the current versions of, the more standard stuff like Mozilla Firefox and Chrome do look pretty good, much better than they used to be as well. But yeah, that's just up to you and what you prefer. So the fifth reason to consider using Brave Browser is that it has built-in Tor access. So sort of like a VPN, if you want to browse with extra privacy, you can connect to the Tor network, which basically allows you to anonymize your IP address by going through the Tor network. But one of the big differences with connecting to a VPN is that you don't need to go through a specific company at a specific service, and you don't need to create an account or anything for that. It's actually just basically going to a new tab. All you need to do is go to new private window with Tor. And at that point, you're going to be showing a different IP address than whatever the real one for your computer is. So one legitimate reason that I find is really handy for using tools like VPN or Tor is if you're trying to browse a website, like a news article website or a online store, that just happens to block certain parts of the world by region or country, and you can't access it, then you can basically switch to a different IP address like this. And so by changing your IP address with Tor or a VPN, you're often able to actually get access to the site so that you can browse it. So that's going to be about it from me for this video on Brave Browser. There are other features that exist like crypto wallets, but because I haven't personally gone ahead and used it and fully understood it, I don't want to really talk about it too much. But obviously putting it up on the screen, you can go ahead and read through that if you want. But that's pretty much going to be it for this video. So once again, the reasons I think are valid for using Brave Browser If you don't like having an online account, you can use Brave Browser for its account list syncing. All of the data that you're storing, which is basically bookmarks at this point, will synchronize between your devices, and as long as you still have one device on the chain, you can pull up the sync code or the QR code and link your other devices, so you don't actually need to have an online account for storing bookmarks. Secondly, it has Brave Shields for built-in ad and tracker blocking, and it's really nice that you can enable and disable each feature individually and for each site specifically. So the third reason is that Brave Rewards offers you an interesting way to support creators and to actually include ads back in if you choose to. If you're disabling the normal ads simply because of the tracker and privacy problems, then that is an option. But basically using it something as a Patreon is also an interesting way to go, because you can automatically contribute a little bit to a lot of people using the auto contribute method. And the grants that they give are also pretty cool whenever they do that. So my fourth reason for using the browser is that I find the theming of it to be very nice, especially in the later versions. And in addition to that, it's very easy to use the UI for finding stuff. So for instance, if I go into settings, and I probably should have showed this a little bit earlier, but you can actually use this search bar at the top of settings. So if there's something you want to find, for instance, like theme color, then you can just kind of go ahead here and type it in, and if it exists, it will try to find it inside of all of these settings, highlight it for you, and you can change things. So Brave Colors here is with the theme of the appearance. So I can go ahead and change this here, and then I wouldn't need to know that Brave Colors is actually on the Appearance tab. So otherwise, you would have had to play around here a little bit and find it, though it's still pretty self-explanatory. And then reason number 5, the privacy windows and the privacy window with Tor. Now, most browsers are going to have a standard private window built in, but then if you want to include the Tor network on that so you can actually anonymize your IP address, then that is just existing there as a drop-down menu function. So anytime you need to browse and change your IP for whatever reason, you can go ahead and just access that there. Obviously, you don't need a web browser to do that specifically, but it's really nice to have functions like that. So once again, that is just about everything about Brave Browser that I can point out right now that I think's worth mentioning. So I've been Chris, thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned something, and I will see you guys in my future video content.